Hello, just cleaning up some files now. I've posted these pictures on my social media page, but I just want to have a look at this hand symbol and also some details, especially in older paintings and some of the hints and the little messages they go through. But Napoleon is most famous for putting his hand inside his jacket, and he's Simon Bolivar. Now, he was a Mason. Uh, Napoleon was, neck deep into, let's just call it the esoteric. But it's worth noting, so these old portraits now, you'll find if you pay attention and you look at there's little details, hidden throughout these. They passed on, again, it's about passing on information. Now, I might say this is not exclusive to Freemasons and non-Freemasons would often have this pose. So just because someone has a hand in the jacket doesn't mean that they're a member of a secret society or that. But it is a good indicator, and you might okay, without going into well, even the key, and if you pay attention to what time it was, because this was obviously it was not a photo. The clock was moving. The key. So there are little subtle symbols, and even his hand in there. It's worth sort of noting. But we'll just look at sort of Karl Marx. So that one. This was a leader of the secret police in Russia. Mozart, who was a Mason, and okay, that one shouldn't be in there, but Simon Bolivar again, Ulysses S. Grant, William Tecumseh Sherman, General Sherman, and it's in Royal Arch Freemasonry, the sign of Master of the Second Veil. Now, again, it's very Hermetic period. I did some videos on it. Queen Elizabeth. Now she has Queen Elizabeth I. I will go into those in the next one. It shouldn't be in there. Andrew Jackson. Okay, and this one actually should be in the next collection as well. But if you notice her hand there, that's an important feature. Pizarro. Bartholdi here was the architect of the Eiffel Tower, a very, very esoteric building, all the numbers built in there, very careful. Nietzsche. And, okay, but so he was a Mason, okay, so, but it's not exclusive to Masons, and there are, everyone just focuses on the Mason. There's Oddfellows, Rosicrucians, Theosophists, all these other type of groups in the same general sphere. But you'll see how often, recorded, known, dedicated members. For instance, Mozart wrote a piece of music called the Freemasonic music. My opinion on when you say Freemasons on YouTube, it's just assumed you have a certain outlook on that. I do not. I believe a lot of it's anyway. But the point is. So what you do, even in photography, so it's a thing about passing on messages, and okay. But now we look at this hand sign, and I'll go to the next collection, because it's not just about hands in the jacket, and also hand symbols are still very important. It's still a modern thing. It's about what are they doing? They're communicating information. They're communicating allegiance as well, and this is an important feature because. Again, in these old artworks where they carefully included all these little details that point to, you might notice what's going on there with the coins from the clock as well. Very subtle, very, this was put in, they're Easter eggs, so to speak. Albrecht Dürer. Now the guy, this hand, obviously he was not, he's holding scales there, but it's a very wonky way to hold them. So if you're holding them at any length of time, it's very uncomfortable. Here we see self-portrait of Dürer, but what is he? Again, he's put his fingers in this slightly unusual way. So again, like with the finger pointing off center there, it's not a comfortable way to do it. And here's some more examples. So especially royalty, again. Is he, West Sieed? Is that what he's saying? He's a member of his gang? Well, yeah, that's exactly what he's saying in the modern tongue, it would be the west side, but that means it's, again, older paintings mean other things. Same thing here. When you're sitting for a portrait, you don't hold your hands like that for any length of time. You don't hold your hands like that unless you've got some crippling arthritis or whatever. And again, you'll see the same very subtle symbols, but they're passing on. It's a clever way, in public where they can, this could be put on a church or a public hall, and 99% of the people wouldn't even notice it, let alone think it has any meaning. But there, again, it's point. I don't understand them. I'm just pointing out the fact that they're there, and it doesn't make sense. Now, even John D. This one probably shouldn't have included it, but I have where there's a parchment and this particular pointing of the finger there's some statues here around Sydney. Prince Alfred statue, for instance, where he's got the same thing, and well, again, they're even the compass. John Dee, famous for Enochian magic, he was the astrologer to Queen Elizabeth I. He was also a lecturer in Euclidean's The Elements. He was essentially a professor in geometry, but also very interested in the esoteric. Heinrich Kunra, famous physician, hermeticist, philosopher, and alchemist, most famous for his work in regards to the emerald tablet. But again, you see this paint, what's he doing with his hands? He was a geometer, so, he was Euclidean, he was into his geometry. Even a nice little reference there with a continuation of a swirl, but the spiral goes on. So Francis Yates claims he's a link between John Dee and Rosicrucians. Again, like a comment, like the Tetragrammaton, yeah, that's something. Robert Flood, same thing. It's not a natural symbol. It's not a natural way to pose. You would do it for some reason. So again, just pointing to connections. Queen Elizabeth, now again, she has the pelican. That's the symbol of a rosy cross. Rosicrucians, the pelican stripping its breast to feed some. Don't get the detail, but there are 3 baby pelicans. It's got to do with the 18th order. But even the way they're holding thing, and well, there's all little details there, and it's more than just a house of the rose. This is the War of the Roses, for instance. But well, it's more than that. You'll actually, it gets a little bit more detailed. Again, this, these pointers, and again holding this fan. Wish I had the rest of the picture, but Queen Elizabeth. Christopher Columbus, what's he doing? It's the same thing. And alchemists, hermeticists are also navigators. That the art of metrology, geometry, measurement. Hermeticism literally translates to measurement, and the magic wand, such as the magic wand of magic of John Dee, it's hermetic. And Hermes, god of weights and measures, or Thoth, as he was known as well. So again, Christopher Columbus, you see this one in there. And it comes back. They're flashing signs. It's gang signs. You don't, no one holds their hands like this, or unless everyone who are because Albrecht Dürer famous for geometry, especially measurement. Again, this coinage as well, and the importance of coinage and the weights and measures going back, and yeah. So it's. No one, did they all have arthritis of the same, crippling arthritis in the same measure? Well, no, they're all hermeticists. They're all connected with Rosicrucianism, for instance, and other such groups, and they're flashing they're showing this, they're passing on information, and that's what hermeticists do. They put information in subtle forms for it to be decoded. For those with eyes to see will see these things, and once you start little details count. As there's a famous Buddhist saying, before enlightenment you chop wood and carry water, after enlightenment you chop wood and carry water. The small details count, and that's not just in the philosophy of living, but it's also in this as above so below symbolism. And so hand signs, they're definitely a thing. This does not necessarily mean that they're a member of Royal Arch Freemasons, but Master of the Second Veil. But it is, well, the amount of for instance, Simon Bolivar and other, confirmed Freemasons, Mozart, etc. Now, not all of these is confirmed. At least I wasn't able to confirm it, but again, this was also, like a stand. When you did a portrait, it was almost a standard sign. You didn't have to be a member of any organisation to be doing it. But it's just interesting how often those who are, such as Bartholdi, do it. And there's some skeptic forums out there who will say that it doesn't mean anything. Well, it's sort of half true. It doesn't automatically mean that it's a Masonic symbol, but it is a Masonic symbol also. So again, one doesn't exclude the other, and one doesn't confirm absolutely one way or the other. Yep. So hand signs, it's a thing, especially if next time you see these old portraits, especially the kingly ones, you hopefully you'll have a look and you'll see just how often it pops up. These are just random collections, from my collections while looking into Hermeticism and the connections to it. It's not, a collection that I intentionally went out of my way to get. It's just, you'll find that these guys and ladies doing this thing will include in their artwork, their portraiture, both painted or photographic. They will drop little Easter eggs in there. It's just what they do, I suppose. And anyway, with that, hope you enjoyed and have a good one. And West Sieed, East Sieed, whichever one is your favourite. Things, as the more things change, the more they stay the same.